Raise your hand if you've ever compared yourself to another mom. If you're not raising your hand, I'm not sure I believe you. It is so easy to fall into the comparison trap in motherhood. With access into other moms' lives on social media, to knowing that when we see people face to face, we're really only getting a glimpse at a small sliver of their life, it's sometimes hard not to compare how our motherhood experience is going to what we just assume others are experiencing. So let's talk about how to stop measuring ourselves against other moms and instead do this the way we want, aligned with our values and with confidence. Welcome to Worthy Mother Podcast. I'm your host, Emily Hardy, a mom of two on a mission to help moms everywhere feel less alone. This is not a parenting podcast. Instead, it's a space for pushing back against societal expectations of perfection and embracing self-compassion in your motherhood journey. Let's get into it. Hi, welcome to Worthy Mother Podcast. I am so happy you are here for another episode. And if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm so happy you're here too. Before we get started, I do have a request for you. If you are enjoying these episodes week after week, please consider leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It means a whole lot to me to see the kind words that you have to say about the podcast and let me know how the podcast is helping you in your life and motherhood. But it also helps other moms who find the show know if it might be a good fit for them. And with the whole goal of this podcast being to get as many moms involved in the conversations and really tune into the fact that we are not alone in these experiences, the more moms we can get listening, the better. So today we are going to be diving into something that so many of us struggle with, comparing ourselves to other moms. I know that for me, this is something that is very prevalent in my life. Even as somebody who is really tuned into this work of understanding the expectations societally on moms, I regularly find myself comparing what I'm doing to other moms. But the thing is, I have worked really hard to stop that comparison from impacting how I feel about my motherhood experience. And that's kind of the shift that I want to help you make here today in this episode. I will be sharing why comparison is so common in modern motherhood and why it's different today than it may have been for moms in the past. And I will also walk you through how to shift your mindset to help you reclaim your confidence, starting by getting really clear on what it is that matters to you in motherhood. And if you hear purring in the background or you're watching on YouTube and you see my cat's tail flick back and forth, yeah, she's here. I think I'm her emotional support human, so bear with me and Missy. So, why exactly is comparison so prevalent in modern motherhood? As I referred to, social media does play a role in the access we have into seeing other moms' lives. And when we're seeing more of other people's lives, there is a lot more opportunity for comparison. Not only that, but realistically, the views that we're seeing into people's lives on social media tend to be much more curated than what we would see in person, right? We're seeing only the pictures they're choosing to share. We're seeing only the experiences, the activities with the kids, the weekend trips, the outfits that they're choosing to share online. We're not as much seeing the messy moments unless it's, specifically intentionally chosen to be shared. But there's a lot more kind of hiding of what's really going on that can occur when we're posting on social media. And I do want to say that I don't think it's necessarily inherently bad that we tend to show more of a curated version of our life on social media. I think it makes sense, right? We're not showing the messy moments. We're not showing the things that we're ashamed of. And if we are, it's usually done through a lens of like, this is something that may cause shame, but I am comfortable sharing it with you. Or I'm reaching just outside of my comfort zone to share it with you, right? We're not going to see the things that cause the deep, deep shame because somebody is not going to post that publicly for, all the criticism and ridicule that might come with that. So it totally makes sense why this is happening. But the thing is that in doing that, in that pattern of the highlight reel being posted, in that pattern of this curated version of what somebody's life is, the expectations we then take on are completely unrealistic because the view of somebody's life we're seeing, and it seems maybe like this complete view, it's completely unrealistic. It's completely showing just the good parts or the not so bad parts, right? And when we make that view into someone's life equivalent to what their entire life is, even if we know logically that that isn't their whole life, it still kind of comes in and influences us and really allows our brain to like think this is what is expected of moms, Also, this is not what my life looks like. So, that access to comparing our reality, our entire reality, the 24/7 reality of our lives, to this small highlight reel we're seeing of somebody else's lives, these particularly chosen challenges that they're sharing with everything else, it's just not a fair comparison. And yet, it's the comparison we have access to. We are also living in a time with so much access to information, particularly around parenting. There's so much information out there about gentle parenting, respectful parenting, how to best feed your kids, how to sleep train or not sleep train, the best ways you can organize the toys, all these things. There's so much access to information out there. And it can feel really like there's a right way to be doing things when we're seeing information presented in this way that we tend to see on social media. It can be really hard when you're reading this information to avoid feeling like you should be doing something a certain way or like everybody else is doing something a certain way. And then you might try that way, and maybe it doesn't work for you the same way that the content creator said it would. I tried this style of addressing my child, and it did not work. My kid did not react the way that they said my kid probably would. And now I'm comparing my actions and the results with my child to what I expected from this information I got on social media. I've said this before. I do think that the access we have to information and to educational content can be really, really important and really, really beneficial. But I also do believe in a very, very real way, it does impact the way that we are all comparing ourselves to other moms. And it can be deeply harmful and damaging to our own confidence in the way we parent and in the choices we want to make, we feel the best making. When we're feeling like either the choices we're making aren't the right choices, or if we choose to follow advice and it's not giving us the same results that we think they should give us, it feels like we must not be good enough. We must be doing something wrong, and that other moms are doing a better job at it than we are. Another factor that really has contributed to this comparison that we see in modern motherhood is less real life support and more reliance on these digital spaces. So we've kind of seen a sort of loss in this so called village, right? So many moms are acting from a place of isolation in their personal, physical lives. There are a lot of factors for that, and we're not going to get super into that. But the reality is that many moms don't have that village that we kind of speak of. And when we're spending less time with the physical people around us and more time online, again, we have more access to the curated feeds and the information overload that I just referred to. And the last factor I want to get into here is just the internal pressure and identity shifts that come along with motherhood. And a lot of these internal pressures actually do stem from more external societal pressures that we've talked about. So when we think about concepts like the perfect mother myth that expects moms to do it all, or how moms exist in a feminist world where women can work and can raise kids, and now we're just expected to do it all, literally. It can be really confusing because it seems like the expectation is so clear. I mean, it's laid out for us in so many ways. And that external pressure, that external here's what you should do, really does become an internalized belief. An internalized belief that moms can do it all, moms should be able to do it all, moms should be perfect if they're going to be any good, right? And we end up holding ourselves to these standards that are based on what we've learned moms should be able to do that are really completely unrealistic, but they're the standards we're holding ourselves to. And we make it believe to ourselves that other moms out there are doing these things. They're able to keep up with it. And again, it's not we're making ourselves believe that because it's some intrinsic thing, it's because of the messages we're getting. But it's this very internalized belief. And really, when it comes down to it, comparison often stems from insecurity in the way we're mothering or just feeling like we're not enough. And in a world that tells us we should be able to do it all and we should be able to do it all perfectly, and we are obviously not able to do it all, we're obviously not doing it all perfectly. It makes sense why we're feeling insecure. It makes sense why we're feeling like we're not good enough, right? So that's really why comparison is such a huge thing right now. Why we see so many moms feeling isolated and stressed and like they're not doing enough because they're comparing themselves to other moms. And so, why does this matter? Well, comparison really does negatively impact our confidence. When we are constantly measuring ourselves to other moms and really constantly measuring ourselves to the perception we have of other moms and just moms in general, there is so much room for self doubt. There is so much room for questioning ourselves and wondering, am I doing enough? Am I keeping my cool enough? Why am I not holding it together like this mom? Why are my kids not behaving like her kids? Something that I always find really interesting to reflect on is the times where maybe I've been the mom who is keeping my cool in public. Maybe I've been the mom who my kids are actually acting the way that I would prefer them to act at a restaurant, right? And somebody else might see me and think, I've got it all together. I'm doing all the right things. And they may compare themselves to me, but really, I know it's a snapshot in time. But we use those moments. We use those snapshots in time, those Instagram story posts. We use those moments. We see another mom at a restaurant whose kids are behaving perfectly and they're not watching the screens and they're just eating dinner and having fun and laughing and staying quiet and all these things. We use those snapshots to inform what we think we should be doing and how our kids should be acting. And it does make us question ourselves when that's not our reality. That's not how my kids are acting. That's not what we're doing right now. The emotional toll of that constant questioning, that constant self doubt is heavy. There's so much shame that comes with not feeling like we're enough, feeling like we're a bad mom for not holding it together, or for not being able to take our kids to certain events, or for not wanting to take our kids to certain events because it just would be miserable. It's like, well, mom should be able to do that. I've seen so and so do that. Those kind of thought patterns can create a lot of shame. It's also just straight up exhausting when we're constantly feeling like we're not good enough or constantly feeling like we need to be measuring ourselves against some other standard and not knowing how we're doing and feeling like we need to achieve some goal, some level of success in motherhood based on how our kids are acting. Like, that is draining, right? We can't control our kids. We can only do so much. And we're definitely never going to reach that level of perfection that we see reflected everywhere. So, I mean, we can just keep striving. That's a lot. That's draining. That's exhausting. And beyond that, because we're feeling ashamed, because we're exhausted, because we feel like we should, comparison ends up impacting our parenting choices, the actual day to day choices we're making in our parenting. It can impact our relationships. It can cause issues with those we're parenting with. It can make us feel ashamed to talk about our troubles with friends. Maybe we're not being as vulnerable with the other moms in our lives because we're embarrassed. And it can have an impact on our mental health. Carrying that amount of self doubt and shame and just exhaustion, it's not good for our mental health. And yet, so many of us are stuck in this pattern of constantly comparing ourselves to other moms or to our perception of other moms. So, what do we do about it? I definitely don't want to leave you with feeling like we compare ourselves to other people and this sucks because that doesn't help. We don't just stop by saying, I'm not going to compare myself anymore. No, these perceptions that we are comparing ourselves to are deeply ingrained, like I said. And so we have to do real work to kind of separate ourselves from comparing to the standard of perfection that exists. And we do that by reflecting on what truly matters to us as an individual. What do I value most in motherhood? What kind of relationship do I want to have with my kids? And how do I, as me, with my unique kids, get there? Starting by simply journaling on those questions can be a really powerful way to start to just recognize what's actually important to you. What are the things that you want to hold yourself to? From there, I think it's really important that you explicitly define what it means to be a good mom to you. The idea of the perfect mom is out there. It is out there and it is so prevalent in our society. And it's important to call out that there are contradictory pieces of what it means to be the perfect mom and that everybody is going to have different opinions, right? Some people think good moms definitely stay home with their kids. Like a good mom does not go out and work. She does not have a career that takes her away from her kids. She doesn't send her kids to daycare, right? Like there's people who that's their idea of what it means to be a good mom. We're getting those messages. There are also people out there who say that if you are home with your kids all day, you're not doing enough. You're definitely not a good enough mom because what are you doing? You're just home with your kids all day? We get those messages too, right? That's just one aspect of motherhood when we look at what we call stay-at-home moms and working moms, and the very clear distinction and how those two groups of people are grouped up and then talked about by society, it's like you can't win. Whatever you're doing, somebody's going to think it's wrong. And all of those ideas are compiled together to create this perfect mother that we tend to hold ourselves to. You're not ever going to be comparable to that perfect mother because it's not possible. This person that does all these things and does it all 100% does not exist just based on the fact that those requirements are contradictory. So we have to challenge the cultural narrative. We have to actually define for ourselves what it means to be a good mom. I encourage you to sit down and write about what it means to be a good mom in your eyes. Write it down. A good mom, blank. Maybe you say a good mom shows up with love and presence. A good mom sets boundaries to protect her peace. A good mom values her relationship with her children above all else. Whatever those things are for you, it's really important that you know that because your values are going to look different than someone else, and that's okay. But they're definitely not completely aligned with this idea of the perfect mother myth. And making that distinction really clear for yourself is so important because you then can use that definition of what it means to be a good mom for yourself as a compass in guiding you in your decisions. When comparison creeps in, ask yourself, does this align with my definition of motherhood? Does this align with what I believe it means to be a good mom? And if it doesn't, pause on that and give yourself a moment to realize, maybe that's not a comparison I need to be spending time on here. If we don't do the work of defining what it means to be a good mom for ourselves, and we continue in this autopilot of taking on all the societal narratives we hear about what it means to be a good mom, those things that we're constantly getting in, we are going to have a hard time not just comparing ourselves to all of it. Instead, let's focus on the things that actually matter to us and hold ourselves to those standards. One of the most beautiful parts about this is when you have that definition to measure yourself to, the shift in confidence in your own ability to parent the way that you actually want to align with your own values increases by so much because you're no longer doubting yourself based on these comparisons and instead anchoring yourself in a true belief of what you want out of motherhood and how you want to show up for your kids. It doesn't mean you're not going to fall short of that, but it does mean that you're comparing yourself to a standard that actually matters to you and not just the random things that you're taking in all the time. Now, having said all of that, it is important to recognize that comparison will still creep in. Like I said, I definitely find myself comparing myself to other moms online and in my life. This is definitely a practice, and it is not one more thing that we are seeking perfection in. But I do think it's important that we start to break down the way that we compare ourselves to other moms. You are enough, and the more that you trust yourself, and the more that you eliminate the self-doubt that comes with comparison, the less validation you will need from the outside. You are doing hard things, and you are not perfect, but that does not mean that you are not enough. So I hope that after listening to this episode, you will take the time to really get clear on what you value in motherhood. Identify those values, define for yourself what it means to be a good mom, and use that as your anchor in the decisions you make moving forward. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this episode, and if you had any epiphanies while listening about what it means to you to be a good mom that may be different than the cultural narratives that you're seeing out there. If you have something to share, go ahead and send me a DM on Instagram or leave a comment on the Instagram post that goes along with this episode, or in the show notes of this episode, you can send a message directly to me. As I said at the beginning of the episode, if you are enjoying these episodes, please make sure to leave a rating and review. It helps the show tremendously, and it just means a lot to me. Really appreciate it. We will be back again next week for another guest episode of Worthy Mother Podcast. For now, you are worthy, Mama.